there's only one set of people who could actually take Joe Biden out. And that, unfortunately, is not the voters, it's not the senators who are now in open rebellion, it's the donors. And it's the donors that put him into place, it's the donors that are his source of power. So if he loses that source of power, he has no power left and has to withdraw. So with that in mind, John, what's the state of the donors right now?
Well, there's both individuals and organizations of donors who are coming together to try to force some sort of alternative going forward. One group of donors is working to raise as much as $100 million for a sort of escrow fund called the Next Generation PAC that would be used to support a replacement candidate. If Biden were not to step down, the money could be used to help down ballot candidates, according to people close to the effort. At that point, it would function mainly like a normal super PAC, but they're hoping that this huge sum of money that they can put together as an incentive for a new candidate might influence, if not Biden, then some of the other people who might talk to him. There's a separate movement to just start moving money away from him to candidates for lower offices. Again, as like a pressure tactic, but also maybe just as a pragmatic move where they might think that the money would be wasted were it to be spent in the presidential race. So at least if we can maintain some seats in the House or Senate or state legislatures, that might be a better use of money. But let's focus now on a couple of individual donors. So Gideon Stein is a donor, an operative with deep connections in Democratic politics. That said his family was withholding $3.5 million in planned donations to nonprofits and political organizations active in the presidential race unless he steps aside. He's saying that we need a new ticket to have the best chance of defeating Donald Trump. And look, like regular people and like the elected officials, these wealthy donors are looking at the polls and it's just not going in the right direction. Most recent New York Times Siena College poll taken after the debate has Biden down by 6 points among likely voters. That is not where you want to be as the incumbent. Let's turn to other donors. Abigail Disney is a granddaughter of the co-founder of the Walt Disney Corporation, said recently, I intend to stop any contributions to the party unless and until they replace Biden at the top of the ticket. This is realism, not disrespect. Biden is a good man and has served his country admirably, but the stakes are far too high. If Biden does not step down, the Democrats will lose. Of that, I am absolutely certain. The consequences for the loss will be genuinely dire. And goes on to say, just so you think, well, maybe she's going for a progressive or something. No, we have an excellent vice president, she goes on to say. If Democrats would tolerate any of her perceived shortcomings, even 1/10 as much as they have tolerated Biden's, and let's not kid ourselves about where race and gender figure in that inequity. And if Democrats can find a way to stop quibbling and rally around her, we can win this election by a lot. Which is not necessarily what the polling shows, but she does seem to perform at least as well and possibly more so. And that's right now, not a month or two into more stumbles and bad debates and all that. We also have one more. Damon Lindelof, Hollywood producer and screenwriter, has already donated over $100,000 to Democrats this cycle, says the checks give us access to power. We can shout as much as we want, but the pitcher will ignore us despite our checks. Propose a Dembargo. No checks written, no Act Blue links clicked for anyone. And bear in mind that the Joe Biden campaign over the last couple of months has raised a lot of money. Just last month, they raised $127 million, which is 50% more than in the previous month. And they did raise a lot of money in the immediate aftermath of the debate. Will that going forward stay the case? Will they be able to overwhelm the fact that they're losing some of these big donors? I don't know, Cenk, what do you make of it?
Thanks for watching. Our audience has helped build TYT into the media giant it is today. Together, we can accomplish anything. Support our work and join us at tyt.com/team.
So there's good news, bad news here. The bad news is now we're rooting on the donors to do the right thing. That's the pathetic state of American democracy. It reminds me of Hunger Games. Like, well, if the donors give you a tribute, you have a better chance of surviving. But without the tributes, it's very hard to survive if you're from the wrong district. So, but it is the fact of the matter, and they do get to decide. And they might not get to decide for a progressive candidate like Bernie Sanders, because he raises his money $27 at a time. But for establishment candidates like Joe Biden, they don't have a second source of power. Their only source of power is money. And so the good news is now that these donors are saying, we are displeased with the person that we put in there. Well, that's a huge problem for Biden. Without the donors, and now the Republicans running all those ads against Democratic Congress people, destroying chances of winning Congress and ruining the down ballot races. Those two factors add up to Joe Biden's not long for this race. So look, I already made a prediction a couple of days ago that he's definitely done. So then now, in my opinion, the question is when. And given how much he's bleeding out with donor money, meaning he's losing all of his power, I think he could be gone by Monday, depending on how he does in the Stephanopoulos interview on Friday and one more appearance. If he flubs them in any way, shape, or form, he's a goner because no one's gonna give him money. And that's the only thing that keeps him afloat.
Yeah, it's a strange turn of events when donors who are who are sort of an example of part of the overall problem with the political system. The fact that donor money is what actually props up most candidates and most political these corporate duopoly parties. That their calculations are what we're tying our hopes to right now as progressives. And Bernie in the second try in 2020, $18 average contribution. So it was even cooler. So I guess the point is that one thing that rich donors are probably pretty good at is knowing how to what's worth their investment and what's worth them making more money off of their investment. And many donors would prefer a kind of corporate, kind of pseudo-liberal than a corporate fascist. And but I think it's just, you said it again and again on this network, Cenk and John. Biden had the lowest approval rating for any incumbent before the debate in history, if I'm not mistaken. And this kind of and when we want to talk about Kamala Harris, she pulled out of the 2020 campaign before the Iowa caucuses. Andrew Yang lasted longer than Kamala Harris. So I guess it's just high time. I mean, what propped up Biden was the donor class and the mainstream media, and now both are cracking.
Yeah, he's lost both those power bases. Last thing, guys, is remember the number one concern that the donors had that Biden addressed and why he became the candidate in 2020 was that promise he made them that nothing will fundamentally change. But now the donors are saying we need something to fundamentally change. That's why Biden is the wrong guy for them. And the tide of history will sweep Biden out. The only question is when. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.